Is all right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multiverse Show, Season 5, Episode 26. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the first week of Spooktober. One of my favorite times of year because we get to really get into some of our picks for some of the best horror movies and Halloween fun stuff for you guys to see and enjoy. I love this time of year. It's an absolute blast, and we get to do it with my two favorite guys to talk about movies, video games, and whatever. I absolutely love talking to James and Sam about this sort of stuff. So we're going to get into some of our topics. But first off, we have to do our introductions. As I mentioned before, we have the Baron of Britain, the Caesar of cinema himself, Mr. James Wilson. How you doing, sir?
Truly, truly the busiest time of the year for me is October. Not only is it just the time to be spooky and all of those things, the new Bond film has come out, so at the cinema we are just packed to the rafters with people, but also starting Wednesday is the London Film Festival, which runs for 14 days this time. It's a big, big festival this time. So I'm just super excited to just watch all of the things.
Excellent, excellent. And we also have the White Wolf himself, Mr. Samuel Tolbert. How you doing today?
I am doing really, really well. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. The weather is finally somewhat agreeable. I went through all
Yeah.
of September and it was like, no, we're still summer. We're still summer. It's like, what on earth is this nonsense? But I actually see some orange leaves out there on the ground, so I am very much in the vibes. Let's get this show on the road.
Oh, very, very much in the same mood, sir. It's rainy all week here in North Carolina, so I'm like, yes, give
Nice.
it to me. All right. So first off on the docket, we always discuss what have you guys been playing this week. So I'm going to ask you guys, at least this one here, because it's going to segue into our only gaming topic for this evening, which is going to be about Halo Infinite. We're going to hold off on that if you've played it. But James, have you got a chance to play anything? But I know you were extremely busy, like you mentioned before.
Nope, haven't had a chance to play anything apart from the
Okay.
occasional run of Hades, which I've now beat a whopping 4 times. I'm
Nice.
very proud of that. All with different weapons. That's my big thing. I'm very happy with
Nice.
that. I'm trying to get at least one with all of them.
And then what happens, James, is once you get in one run with all the weapons, you go, now I want to get one with every aspect of every weapon. So,
Ooh.
What do you mean aspect?
oh, all right, keep playing. It's all right.
Okay. And Sam, what you been playing, sir?
Yeah, so I actually went back and played Alan Wake again, specifically the remaster that was done by Remedy and Epic Games Publishing. So, Microsoft published the Xbox 360 version and Remedy self-published the PC version a couple of years after that. But this is a multi-platform remaster published by Epic Games. Very good. If you have not played Alan Wake before, what are you doing? You need to play this. The combat isn't incredible, but I think it's fine. And the storytelling is just some of Remedy's best. Like, it is their dark twist at the height. It's Remedy at the height of their storytelling. It's fantastic. Even all these years later, knowing the twist, it's still such a great story. I'm having such a blast going through it. I think I'm going to go through it again on the hardest difficulty to try and get all the achievements. It's just that good. The cutscenes are way improved. If you played Alan Wake back in the day, you know that the lip sync, it wasn't exactly incredible. It was still when Remedy was still figuring some of their tech out. They went back and they redid all the cutscenes, so they're all way higher quality character models, and the lip sync actually matches what the characters are saying. Really good. And it's half price of a normal game because it's a remaster, so it's not too expensive or anything.
It took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that he's called Alan Wake because he is awake.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not joking. Years.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm kind of in a similar camp. I'm not sure it took me years. It took me the better part of a year after playing, though. So, like, I don't have much room to talk there.
All right. So I have been kind of like all over the board. I've been mainly trying to finish things. That's been my main focus lately. Um, it's like I said, I've been playing a bunch of different stuff. I finished Watch Dogs Legion. Um, started Marvel's Avengers. I've been enjoying. I got the Tony Stark. I haven't played anymore since I talked to you, Sam. Um, little prominence poker as well. That was fun, and Halo. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, that's kind of been what I've been up to there. Um, so let's jump into our movie corner. So James, it's my understanding that a cultural icon for you has finally graced the silver screen after many delays and waiting.
Well, a cultural icon for people who are English, which I'm not, as I have to constantly remind everyone who, in fairness, they listen to my voice. I don't blame them, but I do tell them. So, anywho, we're talking about James Bond. James Bond has finally been released. It was supposed to come out in November 2019, and it had a first delay due to it not being finished, which is a perfectly reasonable reason to delay a movie. Imagine if it came out and it just stopped about 80% through. People would rightfully be annoyed, but then it was delayed many other times due to, I don't know, some bet, I assume. Uh, you know what? Sometimes I come up with those jokes and I picture like an audience, but then I remember that this is a podcast and that doesn't happen. So let's talk about James Bond, specifically No Time to Die. It is good. It is a good movie, and I liked it. There are problems with it because there are problems with most movies, especially stuff that is both such part of the fabric of modern cinema. You know, the first Bond film was in 1962. So you have this character and these framework of movies that fundamentally have changed very little over the past 50 odd years. 59 years now, which is crazy. Obviously, things have changed about them mostly on the technical side, and you notice that here, the fundamentals of No Time to Die are very similar to every Bond film. I won't say the problem. The thing about this film for me is that it is too damn long. Now, I know that length should not be a contributing factor to the successful failure of a movie, but, you know, I said this before. What's it? There Will Be Blood. One of my favorite movies ever made. It's a true. It's a brilliant, brilliant film. That thing is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but I don't care because it is so good and it uses the time so well that it feels like it's an hour and a half. This film is 163 minutes long. It is 2 hours and 43 minutes. It is too long. There is not enough content in this movie to justify that length. The first hour of this film is a very good spy thriller. It's a very good Bond film. If it was just the first hour, it would be really, really good. And it picks up immediately after Spectre, which is one of the worst received Bond films in recent memory. So it's sort of an odd choice to have this thing dovetail and be such a part two to Spectre, when you think they would try to go past it. You know, you still have people talking to Christoph Waltz in this film. You know, he's not in it a lot, but he's a big part of the first half of the film. And then you have this other villain played by Rami Malek, who's just sort of there because they need to have a Bond villain. And you know, he has a facial scar. He has a lavish base in the middle of the ocean that is a disused World War II submarine base by the Russians. It could not be more stereotypical Bond on the checklist. All of these things aside, it is a good movie. I think it's the best performance of Daniel Craig in the role of Bond. I don't think it's the best of the films. I think it still goes Casino Royale, then this, then Skyfall. That's because I have my own problems with Skyfall. I know people adore Skyfall. But yeah, I think this film is exactly what you want a Bond film to be. It isn't too funny, and I think the jokes that are in it are very much a part of the writing team of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Neil Purvis, and Robert Wade. Neil Purvis has been writing most of the Bond films for the past 20 odd years. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, you will probably know her from Fleabag, which is a brilliant, brilliant comedy show which everyone should watch. I think it is on Amazon Prime in the US. She also starred in Solo, a Star Wars story. She was the robot in that gets a Matrix put into the Millennium Falcon to make it a great navigator. This film is good. It's not amazing, but for a Bond film, it only has to be as good or better than the last one, which is a benefit and sort of a downside of having a film series that is so tied to the series, and yet it has no real connective tissue, and yet they have really connected the tissue of the Craig films, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do with the franchise going forward. Personally, I think it should take a good long rest. I think that Bond should very much die down from mainstream movies. There are brilliant audio dramas that are happening with Toby Stephens playing Bond, who was weirdly enough a Bond villain in Die Another Day. But overall, No Time to Die is a good time in the cinema if you are willing to spend 2 hours and 43 minutes of your time in there. With adverts, that's 3 hours of your day. That is an eighth of your day watching a Bond film, which is a long time. But it might be worth it if you really like James Bond.
Interesting. Thank you. So one thing that's interesting that you said there in terms of it taking a while to die down, not just the radio dramas and all that, but my mind immediately went to the fact that we have that game, a James Bond game coming from IO Interactive, working with the Broccolis on how that's going to play out. So I think that's kind of interesting. We could sort of see the rise of an actual good game, not tie-in, but an original take on the character, while the movies sort of take a back seat. But also,
I will challenge you there, sir, because Everything or Nothing on the PlayStation 2 is a fantastic game.
No, I'm not saying they aren't great. I'm just saying that I'm just rewording it because licensed tie-in has a certain connotation.
That was an original story.
Well, no, what I was about to lead into is saying even though GoldenEye is such a revered game, like that's the point I was leading to. But you're absolutely right. But my
Nightfire. I forgot Nightfire. Nightfire is amazing.
Oh yeah, Nightfire too. I forgot Nightfire. James Bond has a great history in games, so I'm curious to see what IO Interactive comes up with in the years to come. But my question was going to be, considering you said it's actually very interesting that this ties so heavily into Spectre, despite a generous way to put it would be mixed reception Spectre got. Does that make Spectre more enjoyable to you in hindsight, would be my question. No? Okay.
No. The best bits of Spectre were everything that involved Christoph Waltz, and he was not in that movie a lot. The best bits of Spectre also relate to the best bits of Casino Royale, which are many. So Vesper Lynd, basically, the Bond girl played by Eva Green in Casino Royale, she is featured by name and by picture in every single one of the Craig Bond films, which I think is an astonishing record. I think it might be the record for most appearances in picture by a dead character in a film series. Currently, I think it might hold the record until we go into the future in the Marvel films when they keep talking about Iron Man.
Yeah, and maybe as well, like Star Wars Ghost. I'm not sure how you'd count those, because otherwise some of them might rack it up as well.
But just like by name and with a picture.
Okay.
Not an actual appearance.
Interesting.
I do want to say a good thing. The music's very, very good.
Nice.
The score of it. Obviously, the Billie Eilish song is good. We knew that anyway.
We knew that over a year ago. I remember listening to that song back in like February last year, before the pandemic even started, and thinking, man, this is a great song. I can't wait to see this film in a couple of months. Exactly.
The music is done by Hans Zimmer, who is a plucky upstart with a great future in everyone knows.
He'll go places.
Never heard of him.
He'll go places.
He
should work on Batman. No, he should pair up with Christopher Nolan. It'd be great.
Here's the thing, though. This is one of the most subdued Hans Zimmer scores, and I mean that. It's really, really surprisingly calm, despite it being a James Bond film. Like, yeah, it's big when it needs to be big, but it doesn't go over the top like some Zimmer scores do. And I have heard snippets of the Dune soundtrack. Dear me, that thing is loud and full of bagpipes for some reason. I'm not making that up. But they do a really nice thing, which is they they put the themes from the theme song into the score. So you know how the No Time to Die starts with the piano going bum 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 ba da dum bum ba da dum bum ba. They
Mhm.
put that everywhere in the score whenever Bond is talking about Madeline Swan, who is Leia Seydoux' character. Uh, and they just do a really nice. It's so simple and it happens all the time in movies, but it was really noticeably done well here. So yeah, just want a quick shout out to Hans Zimmer, like he needs it, you know.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I know I'm gonna watch it eventually. I'm trying to get through the other ones because for whatever reason, like it's just getting access to like okay, I try to use it through the streaming services if at all possible, especially if I'm not positive if I look at like a movie or not. And like for me, like Bond movies are kind of like hit or miss, and so it's like all
Yeah.
right, either I love it or I hate it, and it's like or I can't stand it. And so but it's like it's funny because like they keep like having access to them, but they always like take it away so quickly. Like what was it? What was it? The first time this happened, they put like every single Bond movie up to I think Spectre was on Netflix at once, and they only did it for a month, and
Hmm.
they took it away, gave no one any hints or clues, and then
But also
like
because going forward isn't haven't no
but
Amazon have bought MGM, they haven't bought Bond, but Bond is an MGM product, so they effectively have.
yeah, well, I think it's one of those things where like the Broccoli's have like a contract deal, and it's only for a little bit, and like they renew like every 10 years or so. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I remember that it was a question between Brosnan and like I don't know. There was a point where they had to renew a contract, but anyway, but yeah, like it's always like I always get to it. It's like over the summer they're like, oh yeah, we got you can watch Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Spectre. I'm like, oh shit, I'll watch this. And so like I was like, well, let me restart with Casino Royale. And, like I fall asleep during Quantum of Solace, and then it's like, all right, well, too bad those are gone now. They're only here for 2 weeks. I was like, I'm just trying to catch up.
Yeah. I will defend the opening like 20 minutes of Quantum of Solace and the opera scene. Those are genuinely
That was
very,
good.
very good sequences in a very, very bad movie. But what do
Yeah,
you expect from a writer's strike?
yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
not great. That this should give you an idea. Like I remember even the Quantum of Solace video game has barely any Quantum of Solace in it.
It's all Casino Royale.
It's all Casino Royale. It's like, oh, okay.
It's all Casino Royale except the poker bit. Because they couldn't
Yeah,
make a game out of that, apart from they could have just made the player play poker, which would have been great.
yeah,
They could have had quick time events to do poker. They had quick time events for other bits.
yeah. Good. They definitely do that. But anyway, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm trying to like just find access and speed through it if I can. But yeah. So we're gonna knock a. Okay.
I do think this definitely benefits a cinema viewing. I know I say
Yeah.
that for everything, but it's Bond.
Yep.
You want to have like the European vistas of him snaking through with the Aston Martin. Like you want to see it on a screen, and almost it's almost worth going just to hear the Billie Eilish song in a proper sound system to watch all the visuals and hear it work.
All right. I guess we'll go ahead and knock out our only gaming topic today, because Spooktober takes precedence this month. So we're gonna go over into Halo Infinite. Sam, did you get a chance to play Halo Infinite at all?
Yes, I did. I got a chance to play it last weekend, which was just regular arena, and more importantly, this weekend, which was big team battle. And that was a lot of fun. And I know you got in on this weekend, correct?
Oh, I've been on them both.
Okay, you got in both. I didn't know if you got in
Yep.
the last one. I just remember you got in this one for sure.
Yep.
So
So I got in the first one, but like I was kind of busy, and so I was like I played like 5 matches maybe. I didn't play a lot, but I played enough to get a general sense of it. But yeah, I played a lot more of it this time around, and I will say I had an absolute blast with it. And like this is coming from someone who does not care about the Halo franchise pretty much at all.
right, right.
For me, like it's never been a draw to Xbox for me or anything like that. Like I've played them, I just don't really care if they live or die. But I really enjoyed playing Halo Infinite. I felt like they made some changes and they finally modernized Halo enough where it's like, all right, I can see Halo existing in the future. I
Mhm.
feel like they finally caught that middle ground where like
Yes.
enough people are on the side of it say, okay, like the Halo community is so weird to me because it's the only community I can think of that absolutely hates any type of change whatsoever.
Hmm.
And it's
Yep.
like anything at all. So like if they like when they added sprint for the first time like in 4, they were like,
Yeah.
"No, how dare you? How dare you add sprint?" And it's like, oh, like they panic over every little thing and I can't stand that. But like playing like this time it was like, okay, they added those things, they added enough, but they found a nice balance for it where it felt great. Where
Hmm.
it's like it doesn't feel like it's too fast, it doesn't feel like it's too slow either. It feels like, engagements have to be methodical, like they're not like it is possible to turn around and stop someone from shooting you, like like take them out. Like there's potential there and it's fun. And they definitely went more of the whole physics sandbox kind of vibe with it,
Yep. Yep.
where it's more like, hey, we're trying to set up these moments. And it's kind of funny because like that's only what Battlefield does. Battlefield moments is what they've kind of like pushed on for Battlefield 2042, and it feels like Halo's going the same route, and they're really pushing that. And I will say, and this is my parting thought on it. I walked away from the beta or the album or the flight or whatever, thinking, you know what, if they wanted to delay the campaign till next year so it comes out with co-op and just drop this year, I'd be okay with that. I felt like there was enough here to justify my time.
Hmm.
So also it's free to play, so whatever.
Hmm. Oh, was that it? Were you
Oh yeah,
done talking about?
that's my thoughts. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Halo has always been defined by being a complete package, and to take that away is taking away what it means to be a Halo game. So I definitely don't agree with that. However, I agree with literally every other word you said, because Halo has suffered this identity crisis. It suffered this problem of a lot of the fans, not everyone, but a lot of the fans didn't want it to move on, while you had new people who were put off because it didn't move on enough. And it seems to me that unless I'm missing something, 343 has finally found this impossible balance where they're walking along a razor's edge and they've kind of appealed to both camps and it's working. Because Sprint and Mantle are in. Get over it. Like, that's just, it's modern movement. Like, you need to get over it. At the same time, everything feels grounded. It has a longer, and I've seen some nonsense takes about this, by the way, comparing it to Call of Duty in a bad way, but it has a longer time to kill, and I think that's a good thing. That is objective. Like, that is something I hate about Call of Duty, is how much of the meta is defined by, oh, this SMG fires faster, it just instantly kills you while you hide in a bush. That's all there is to it. Halo is about options, and like you said, those two words, physics sandbox. I agree with that 100%. It's about having all these different options. It's about having lots of different equipment. It's about having things you pick up off the map, not what loadout you've optimized, in your spare time.
Yeah.
Everyone comes in on the same page, and so from there, it's all the toys in the sandbox. Figure it out yourself. So many of these different tools they've added. That's another thing. They've kind of taken a risk with how much of the arsenal is new. Don't get me wrong, there are classic guns, there's classic weapons, but there's a lot of new stuff. There's new grenades. Almost all the equipment, like the grappling hook or the drop wall, that stuff is new. A lot of the guns, the commando rifle,
Love that gun.
the great gun. The commando is great. The that taser shock rifle that the
Yep.
Banished have, the Ravager, a lot of the Banished weapons in general, actually. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. The multiplayers, as long as there's enough maps, which there should be, I don't see why there wouldn't be. I don't have any complaints going into the multiplayer side on December. So
Yeah. So I think it's great. If it stays the way it is, like even in terms of like the because I know my biggest question would be what's the progression like in terms of like going through battle passes and stuff. That's where I was kind of like, all right, well, what's that really gonna look like here? Um, I came away from it like, okay, this current iteration they could drop it like this right now because you
Yes.
rank up pretty good throughout
I
that
think so
entire
too.
process.
I think so too. I saw a lot of complaining about how the challenges system was worrying, but I think it was fine. I was ranking up like every other match, so I think it's fine.
It's pretty consistent too, so it's not like it's like you get a little bit higher. Like I don't know if they even increase the cap or anything. It feels about the
Yeah.
same.
And also just the FOMO not being there. The fact that they've explicitly said battle passes aren't ever going to expire. So if you take a 3-month break from the game and come back to it, you can still unlock all that stuff. You just choose what battle pass your progress goes to for the moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I some minor server quibbles aside, like obviously it was a tech test, so there were some errors with the servers. I got kicked out of a couple of matches, but I mean, fixing that aside, I think it's great.
Yeah. Oh, I had a great experience. A lot of guys on Twitter, we got together. We had like 11-man party. And
Nice.
did big team battle that way, and it was such a joy to see all these names on your screen, like casting green. It's like, yeah, we're all at a party doing this together and laughing, having a great time. I really missed out on that. Like, especially over like this pandemic period, there hasn't been. I don't feel like there's been like a lot of experiences like that lately.
Mhm.
Like a lot of it's just been like your small 4-man crew kind of thing, but nothing big like that. Like I just haven't had any real experience like that. It was just really nice to be back and
Yep.
enjoy
You know what it reminded me of? This is the last thing I'll say about them. We can move on. I promise. Don't worry, James.
that.
It reminded me of playing Titanfall in 2014. Those, oh, holy crap, dude, did you see that? Bro, I can't believe I just pulled that off. I got to clip that. It was those type of moments again.
Yeah,
And that's not something I've had good multiplayer experiences. I've had good co-op experiences, but I haven't had that specifically since the original Titanfall.
yep.
So going on like 6 years, 7 years at this point. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
All right. All right, so we'll talk about Spooktober. Let's go ahead and get started. So,
I've
for
been
those of you
summoned.
that are new, first of all, Spooktober is this kind of I think we've been doing for several years at this point, where each of us suggests at least one Halloween scary kind of thing, because we're all horror movie fans in this podcast, and so we love this stuff, and we love suggesting things for you guys to enjoy, and even suggesting things for each other to enjoy. So this year, we always do it like whatever episode it is for October. We're gonna do things just because we're kicking it off, and there's only 3 of us this time. You could do up to 2 if you want for this first one, and you can kind of go as long as you want. Why you would pitch why this is something you would definitely want to watch for the rest of us. So I cut you off, James. What were you saying?
I was saying you mentioned spooky things, and I just said I have been summoned.
Nice.
Gotcha. All right, so we're gonna do 2 different things for this one. You can do just one if you want to, or you can do 2. Do you guys want to do both? Like do 2 at a time, or would you like go round robin?
Round robin.
Round robin, yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
James.
I talked for a lot earlier. So
all right.
Okay.
I'll kick us off. Kick us off.
I'll go second. Let James breathe.
All right, makes sense. Okay, so I want to kick us off with a medium that I've never done before, and that is a book. I've recommended movies, I've recommended games, I think I've recommended TV shows, I've never recommended a book. So I'm going to recommend a book. Specifically 2 books, but it's the first 2 books in a planned 4-book series, so you know. And that is, you may have heard, stop me if either of you have heard of this series, the Locked Tomb series of books. Have either of you read these?
I have not.
Okay. Written by Tamsin Moore, who is a Scottish author, and it is basically about necromancy. It is a book all about a necromantic empire, but the twist is it's not like a medieval setting. It's actually a very sci-fi setting, far into the future where Earth has been abandoned, and you know there's different fleets conquering different worlds and empires and combat and all that. And it focuses on a necromancer named Harrow and her cavalier, which is basically her bodyguard who's sworn to defend her, named Gideon. And these 2 hate each other, and the entire book is just, if I had to sum it up, I would say dripping in Halloween. is the way, like, it gets technical and nasty in terms of how necromancy would actually work, and people regenerating bones and animating skeletons, but approaching it from almost a scientific perspective, but not really. And they're all these different necromancers, including Harrow, are competing to become something called a lictor, which is basically a demigod in service to the emperor, the god emperor of all the necromancers. And it's really, really cool. It's got murder mystery, it's got tension, it's got romance, it's got disgusting combat, it's got flesh golems that are summoned and rip each other apart and then regenerate. It's really gruesome and fantastic, and I absolutely love it. I had no idea what to expect before a couple of friends actually recommended it. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. So the first book is called Gideon the Ninth, and then the second book is called Harrow the Ninth, and there are 2 more books in the series coming. And if you are looking for a good Halloween read that isn't exactly traditional, I cannot recommend either book enough.
All right. Sounds interesting.
Hell
So
yeah, that does sound good.
what was that, James? Sorry, I cut you off
I was
again.
saying, hell yeah, that does sound good.
Yeah. All right, so mine is, at least my first pick is kind of a weird one. Um, I kind of watched it mainly just kind of like just wrap it up. Like I had watched like bits and pieces over the last few years, but I never sat down and watched it. So I watched Sabrina's Chilling Adventures, or Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Hmm.
Um, I am suggesting this for an interesting reason. So, for those of you that don't know, Sabrina the Teenage Witch was a comic series initially, same thing in the Archie universe. It's been around for a very, very, very long time. Since, what, the 60s, I want to say 50s maybe. I want to say 60s though. It's been around. It's had several iterations over the years. It's had an animated series. It's had the '90s sitcom series. It's had a bunch of things like that. And this was like the dark, gritty reboot. And I'm not going to go too much into like specifics about it, just because there's not much to do it. But they do something that like every other iteration prior is just kind of like avoided. Like they maybe mentioned it or like maybe hinted towards it maybe, but this is something where they go full in like satanic cult worship.
Hmm.
And growing up specifically in a Christian setting and growing up in that kind of background, it's really, really awkward to hear like phrases that you don't really think about very much, especially in the southern environment as well. Like hearing certain things, but flipped, and it makes you very conscious of it. And like specifically the first 2 seasons of it, 'cause I watched the entire series. The first 2 seasons are mostly about the devil and Lucifer and that kind of thing, and the other 2 seasons kind of like go evolve into like eldritch horror and shit like that.
Sure.
So they definitely go that route. Um, and like the first season especially has like this very strong like Karen energy about it, where just like Sabrina does whatever she wants and does not care about any sort of rules or punishments or anything like that. She just does whatever and everything works out. And like it kind of gets toned down over time, uh, and ultimately fixed, I would say, towards the end. I think the last episode was terrible. But going back to the why I'm suggesting this one horror wise, like I don't think like it does anything visually or even narratively that's scary. Really, I mean, there's a lot of like generic kind of stuff. But I would say specifically, it's the whole turning religion around, and specifically
Mhm.
either iconography or language, and making you very uncomfortable. Um, and it's very subtle. It does just enough to make you kind of just really uneasy for like the entire first 2 seasons. And they do things like they do a lot of a lot of praise Satan's or hail Lucifers and that kind of stuff. Um, they do a lot of that, and like lots of change. Like instead of like little things like instead of saying like go to hell, they say go to heaven, or just it's a lot of just things that you can go like, huh, like people say that a lot, but in reverse, and it makes you very self conscious of your language.
Interesting.
And it's like, huh, but it's all these tiny little things that make you uneasy watching what would be kind of normal. Like there's especially a point like in towards the second half of the season where they kind of like they neuter the whole devil aspect of it, and it's you don't get that you're not afraid, but it's not uneasy to watch anymore because of that change. But the first two seasons specifically, it's very uncomfortable to watch because of that. And so I put it on the list because it is good enough to watch. I mean, it's definitely says everything down to like a science at this point in terms of how to keep you watching. And they do a very good job of that. It follows a lot of Netflix tropes. But say what you will about that. But I thought it was interesting enough to suggest it as a general thing, more like a primer going into this season specifically.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I know my brother has mentioned to me that I should watch it before, so that's
Yeah.
2 recommendations now.
Yeah. All right, James, what you got for us?
Cool. So I have something. I've got two. Do you mind if I do like a double header and then we go
Sure.
backwards,
Sure.
like it was the draft or something? So I've got two things. One is, and I've talked about this on the show before, but I reviewed it like in passing the first time I went to the London Film Festival, like or 5 years ago. So it's been a while, but I do want to shout out again because I don't want it to be forgotten. So this is a movie called The Girl with All the Gifts. It's also a book. The Girl with All the Gifts is the best Last of Us film that will ever be made. And what I mean by that is the zombies, for lack of a better term, are created by a fungal infection that works exactly the same way that it does in The Last of Us. They're done like they're called hungries. Instead of runners or clickers or whatever, they hunt via echolocation. The music is done by a Chilean man. the But like this isn't like neither of them ripped off the other. They both watched the same David Attenborough documentary where they discover the cordyceps fungus and how it works with ants, and they were both inspired in slightly different ways but slightly similar to create the story. So The Girl with All the Gifts is about a girl called, I've forgotten her name, and that's really bad of me.
That's a long name.
Hell yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get when you get to record. You get to do this at 7 p.m. and I get to do this at 1:45. I want to get this right. The Girl with All Gifts. What is the name of the main character? It's a really good film.
Donna, he's gonna find it. We promise he's gonna find it.
Melanie.
There we go.
Oh,
Main
this is done by
character's-
Cole McCarthy. Is this the same guy who wrote The Road?
I don't think that's Cole McCarthy. Is that someone else?
Is it? Let me check.
Yeah, different thing.
Sorry. Yep, yeah, you're right.
That's
Different person.
Cormac McCarthy, I think.
Hey, yeah, you're right. Cormac McCarthy.
You are very close. I'll give you that. Yes. So this is a horror / action movie, science fiction, about a girl called Melanie who is a child, but is what is known as these hungries. But she is completely in control of her brain, except when she smells humans. And she's been kept by the army along with other children who are like her, and they're all wearing this like gel, like a hand block gel, to mask the scent of humanity, to keep them basically for testing, so they can see why these children who are at 100% zombies, but they act as if they are not, except when they are smelling their prey. It is a really good and tense film that it definitely has the smell of The Last of Us on it, for lack of a better term. When you have big action set pieces set in abandoned hospitals and overgrown cities and things like that, it very much feels like a surprisingly brilliant partner piece. and I don't know where it is available in the US, but it is a really, really good film that doesn't like insult the audience of a horror film. They do treat him with a bit more intelligence than your average horror film. It is good in a way that some horror films don't even get the chance. And when you have a cast like Gemma Arterton, who was she was a Bond girl in Quantum of Solace, we forget about that. Paddy Considine, who is a brilliant writer director in his own right. He's probably most known for being one of the Andes in Hot Fuzz. Uh, Glenn Close, Glenn fucking Close is in this film. You know, this is a really, really, really good film that did not get a foothold. It made $4 million US at the box office. You know, I know it was made for probably less than that, but this thing is really, really good, and the book is also fantastic. So, The Girl with All the Gifts. It's British. It is what The Last of Us would be like if it was set in Britain.
Interesting.
I mean, you literally have a girl who is the key to the potential survival of the human race, and they're shepherding her from one city to another city, having to go through hordes of zombies in the wake. It's that.
The Girl with All the Gifts. I'm adding that to my list. I'm literally writing that down right now.
It's really, really, really good, and I know, and people who like The Last of Us will like this film. That's the thing that I tell everyone who likes The Last of Us. You have to watch The Girl with All the Gifts. Yeah. So now, from the utterly sublime to the equally sublime but very, very difficult to watch, we've had a nice, like, compared to what I'm about to talk about, The Girl with All the Gifts is like a rom-com. So let's talk about French psychosexual horror films.
All right, buckle down, Sam. Here we go.
That was a twist. Let's go.
Have either of you heard of a film called Raw?
No.
Okay, so Raw is a 2016 film. It is by a writer and director called Julia Ducournau, who most people will know now because she won the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year for a film called Titan or Titan. It is part of the London Film Festival. I saw it and it's terrible, which is really sad because Raw is fucking brilliant. It's really hard to watch. There's something about French horror films when they really go for it. Anyone here try to watch Martyrs?
No, I've not.
I've heard of Martyrs. I have not tried to watch it, but I have actually heard of that one, so I know what you're getting at.
Martyrs is its own thing. Raw is really, really brilliant. So, Raw is about a vegetarian, late teen, early 20s, heading to veterinary school. And there is a hazing ritual where all the new people have to eat raw rabbit kidneys, I think it is. And, you know, as a vegetarian, she doesn't want to do this, but she's forced to do it. And she then wakes up with like itchy rashes all over her body, and then the doctor says that it's food poisoning. But then she really begins to have cravings for meat, and it might not just be meat; it might be human meat by an accidental turn of it. What I'm describing it makes it sound more tame than it is. This thing is incredibly upsetting very quickly. But I would be hard pressed to find something that tackles this subject matter of like the sexual nature of pain and how that relates to pleasure, and also combine it with the horror tendencies of what is really wrong with humanity at its very core. It is brilliant, and the reason why Titan was excited, with people looking forward to so much, was because Raw was just fantastic. And I think people forgot while watching Titan just how bad it is and gave it the Palme d'Or, and they were thinking about how good Raw is, because I saw this film 5 years ago. It came out the same year as The Girl with All the Gifts. There you go. This is my picture from 2016. And it is just, God, it's really good. It's really a tough watch, and I would not recommend this to somebody who is who does not have a strong stomach. This thing is difficult to get through, and that's me saying that.
Wow.
It is just, it's really tough, but if you really try, this thing is really fucking brilliant.
Interesting. I'm not going to commit, but I will definitely consider it then. In that case, I will definitely put it down in the. Let's think about it. Let's be in the right mood for this.
Oh, this is like preparing a week in advance to watch this film.
Okay, gotcha.
You need to know well ahead of time. I need to have my evening free because I'm going to be watching this difficult French movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the girl with all the gifts, you can just pop on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I figured.
Okay. So mine, I didn't intend to this wasn't on my list of things to recommend. But I just thought about it and I was like, you know what, this is worth it. Because this is like a franchise thing. So this one in particular is House of Wax. So
Oh
House of
God.
Wax is no. It's actually 3 different movies that have been remade twice. The first one is just called Mystery of the Wax Museum. There's the same general premise. It's just about a guy who kills people and covers them in wax to make realistic looking figures. That's it. That's the premise. But it's what they do with it that's interesting. And this is actually one of the older franchises. This thing came out. The first one came out in 1933. It's been around for quite a long time. Then the next one and the more popular one was just House of Wax, and that's the one with Vincent Price in it. That's a 53. Um, and that one's more of oh yeah, there's a wax museum in the city, and he's like a burnt up sculptor, more of a kind of a fan of the opera kind of vibe to it. It's just weird. That's kind of the mentality behind it. But it's a good Vincent Price flick. It's fun. But the one I'm talking about today is specifically the 2005 version. A little bit of backstory about why I'm even bringing this up. When I was growing up, we did a lot of church stuff, and we started up a church, and we were meeting in a movie theater, and we would meet there on Sunday mornings before the movie. Um, and I remember because they would put up the posters for the whole week that Sunday. I don't know why they would do it on Sunday, and for whatever reason, I remember this poster, and it's been in the back of my mind forever. Same with American Gigolo. For some reason, I don't know why I remember it, but those 2 posters I saw all the time. But
Is this
I
the
never watched
poster that is the person melting of wax,
Yes.
on their side?
Yep, that's it.
Great poster. Terrible movie. Great poster.
Yeah, no, it's not a great movie. I will say that, but I think it's a great intro movie. Any 3 of them are great intro movies, scary films. Just because they're really dumb and it's just enough. I want to say it was PG-13. I want to say it came out as PG-13 because I remember there being very, very little blood comparatively. For a slasher flick, there was not a lot. Um, please correct me if my memory is not great on this one, James. Uh, but there's just
I don't know everything.
yeah, but I remember there not being a lot of blood because all the kills are related to wax.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Oh, I
it's
see what you mean. I thought. Yeah.
it's okay, yeah, this guy
R
got
rating.
his legs
R rating.
crushed. What?
It got an R rating.
You got an R rating? Okay.
Yeah.
But I just remember there not being a lot of blood. And I was like, okay. So the setup of this is, oh yeah, this is Paris Hilton. She's in this. So enjoy.
This was the few years that she tried to be an actress.
Yes, it was. And it's got every possible early 2000s uh trope or thing about it, and it's just so weird watching House of Wax being originally more of a high art sophistication Phantom of the Opera kind of vibe to it, and then to becoming a slasher flick. And it's just awkward to watch, but it's interesting enough. I will say that I had a good time watching it, but it's definitely one of those things where you go together with your friends and have a couple of drinks and have a good laugh. It's definitely more like that. But for me, I'd probably put it more in the summer summer horror flicks than October spooky Halloween time flicks. I put most slashers in the summer category with a few exceptions, but I think it's fun. I think it's worth your time. And a lot of people have like taken similar concepts to it. Like is it a Roger Corman? I know took one. I can never remember the name of that movie. It's literally the same exact premise except with an idiot as the sculptor. That's it, and it's really funny. So,
Interesting.
yep, that's my suggestion.
Nice. All right, well, I went with the really, really eclectic and out of the way for my first one, so I figured I'd close out our first week of Spooktober with something much more recent and very, very painfully obvious. So here we go. And that is Resident Evil Village. If you have not played Resident Evil Village yet, what are you doing? We talked about this game a lot earlier this year, but just to sum it up, it's a great Resident Evil game, but it changes up a lot of things. There's so many fantastic homages to classic Hammer horror, classic horror in general. It really is a different vibe, and it proved to me that even with Capcom kind of on a hot streak right now, the franchise can evolve and it can do different things, and it builds on the first person shift which was so radical that Resident Evil 7 Biohazard introduced. And it does a very interesting thing with it, taking you away from the Louisiana Bayou into this gothic European, East European setting full of werewolves and vampiric creatures and stuff like that. I played through Village multiple times. It's one of my Game of the Year contenders right now. So, play it.
I will weigh in here. Resident Evil 8 is very good. Thank you for your time.
Well said. Well said.
I will also say that this has nothing to do with Resident Evil because we talked about that. We talked about that game a lot.
Sure.
I'm just looking up Paris Hilton films, and I've come across a movie called Nine Lives. Nine Lives. I haven't read the full plot. I just want to read the little bit before the plot on Wikipedia.
Sure.
Nine Lives is a 2002 horror film starring Paris Hilton. The movie was shot in England and was low budget. That's all.
Wait, that's it?
That's it. That's all they got.
Okay.
Before like the contents page, that's what it gets. 2 sentences. It could have been 1 sentence.
Jeez.
That's not a lot to go with.
Nope.
And it was debuted at the London Film Festival.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Man, that's fantastic. I will say, you know what? People make fun of Paris Hilton for legitimate reasons. She is in Repo the Genetic Opera, which is a very, very good musical, and she's very good in it.
Saw that. Excellent.
Like, you can make fun of her as much as you want. She's very good in that. And it was her last role as an actress. So there you go. Went out on a high.
Hey, at least if you can do that.
Wait, she's in Snakes on a Plane?
Cameo, I guess. I don't know.
It's credited as passenger, uncredited.
Yeah, I guess
Anyway.
cameo.
Right.
Small little role.
Should we talk about Malignant now?
Yeah, we can talk about Malignant now. All right, so heads up, we've been holding off on this. So the spoiler territory, we're going to talk about Malignant. We're talking about the spoilers. I've been holding off about talking about it for a while.
Yep.
So if you're watching, this is your warning. Get out now. All right, you had enough time. So, why don't I watch this like 2-3 weeks ago at this point? What about you guys?
When she fell through the ceiling, I jumped out of my chair in surprise.
I didn't jump out of my chair, but the hair went up on my neck and I went, whoa! Like I made that audible noise.
It really got me. God damn, that got me. More than not more than the other things, but in terms of like reveals from, because let's be honest, the first 45 minutes of this movie are awful.
They're not great. They're better in hindsight. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's better in hindsight when you realize, oh, they're in on the joke. Like, James Wan is not an idiot. He knows what he's doing. It's intentionally a gag at how most of his horror films go. So,
and also, when I think I saw this film before all of you.
You did,
Yeah.
yes.
And
you did.
I told you all to listen to the music.
Yes.
And did any of you pick up what happened?
No, I didn't.
Yes, I did.
What happened, Sam?
That is the same music, although it's a remix from Fight Club, right?
Yeah, it is.
And you can't. And here's the thing: I recognize and respect the sheer audacity of it. And I didn't get it the first time, I'll admit that, because it was a remix. I didn't get it the first time, but I got it the second time. And by the way, it happens at weird moments, too. It happens at weird moments. And the second time, I'm like, wait a minute, you can't do that music and then show this awkward, like, man, the handprints were upside down, and wow, when that guy is getting stabbed in the bed, it sure looks like the villain is backwards. Like, so I say that to say it's great. I respect the audacity of it, but also I definitely figured out the twist like 30 minutes before it happened.
Yeah. I even though I realized it while I was watching the film, that is Where Is My Mind by the Pixies. Why are they using that? And I was so thrown off by like trying to review it because I didn't have anyone beforehand telling me you have to watch this movie. I went in thinking, oh, it's a James Wan movie. That's what I knew about it. I knew it was a James Wan movie, and it had an 18 rating, which is not commonplace in the United Kingdom. You don't see that a lot unless something's really gory. And I just thought, all right, cool. James Wan's going back to Saw. Let's do really gory stuff. Let's do it. And so I was completely thrown off by everything that was supposed to throw me off, from them referring to Gabriel as a separate entity, from the underground tour of Seattle, from everything that could possibly design to throw someone off from this twist. It completely got me hook, line, and sinker, which might I've completely forgotten how to talk.
I mean, you're trying to say
That might be the reason why
anything.
I like it so much, is because the viewing experience I had was so singular to me, just punching the air. I wish I could have watched this with like another person who also knew, who was basically another me, who I could like high five during the film because of just the madness that happened in the second and third act.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the reveal of Gabriel when on the VHS tape, when they're talking to the young Madison or Emily or whatever her name is, and then the camera just pans just ever so slightly, and then you have the Gabriel in the back with his little arms.
So good. Like, I knew it was coming, but I want to be very clear here. It was still a great twist, even though I figured out it was coming.
That's the mark. I mean, I think I mentioned this to Ivan or someone. I said it reminds me of The Prestige, not in quality. The Prestige is a much better movie than this, but in terms of just the sheer audacity.
Yes, exactly.
Like, they are trying to hide it, but they're not trying very well. Because, like, if you remember in The Prestige, the first thing you see in that film is Christian Bale taking off a fake wig. It's the first thing you see in a fake beard. And you never think about it because you just think, all right, cool, he's just hiding. But then, because he's hiding.
Because it's hiding in plain sight.
It's
is what
so
it is.
Plain sight.
Yeah, and the Prestige, to be clear, definitely does it better than Malignant does. But since we're not going in any order and we're just bouncing around, I just want to say this. I got to get it off my chest. I have been biting my tongue these weeks. The police station scene.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's amazing.
That was some great directed action. Great choreography. Like, I walked away from it being like, I would kill to watch a Malignant John Wick crossover.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that fight. That would be
do you want to see John Wick directed by James Wan, or do you want to see Malignant 2, Malignant Boogaloo, directed by Chad Stahelski?
Oh wait, they'd probably call it something. Damn, what would they call it?
The Nine,
No, they probably call it like some other cancer thing.
Malignant 2, not in remission.
Yeah, non-remission, like anti-remission. There's a word for it. I can't remember what it is, but like, I don't know. I don't know if they can even do a sequel to this. Like,
I don't think I want one.
I don't either. I
Yeah.
definitely don't either, because
I would love to see this character in some weird League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
yes,
Yeah.
you know what? It's weird because I haven't known how to express it, but I think you just hit the nail on the head. I want to see this character and concept again. I don't want to see Malignant 2.
No.
Yeah. I mean, 'cause
What would you do? Someone
the
else, but
reveal
it's
is
done
the
backwards?
best part about it.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly.
yeah, it's just really hard to watch. I will say, like, my thing is that when I was watching it, I was like, watch this be some weird twin shit. Like I went into walking thinking about that, and there was like electric powers though. It was like, that's weird. It made me question things. I was like, okay, she gets a phone call. Like, it was just enough to be like, okay, I don't know. I just second guess myself, and then like when the reveal happened, I was like, son of a bitch, this is basket case. But
It
like,
is. It really
yeah,
is.
yeah, it really is. I said it to James too, and like
Mhm.
he'd not heard of it.
No.
Like it, I walked away from the movie thinking, wow, Warner Brothers literally gave James Wan a blank check to make a basket case film, a remake, and like he's totally in on the joke. He's gonna take advantage of the situation, but like I think he did a good enough job with it. But I liked it. I had a good time watching it, and like the reveal was good. And they did like slight little misdirects and changes that made it way more interesting, I would say. But it is almost like plot point detail and everything about this.
I mean, the main difference is just that in Basket Case, both siblings are in on it. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
they're both aware of it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
for the main plot points of Basket Cases, you don't know, this like a movie that came out like in the 70s. It's about two twins, and they are, what's the term for it? Conjoined twins. One of them is fully formed. The other one is kind of like half formed. Like, it's basically a head and an arm. Um, and he's just on like his side. And when they were younger, they got separated, but they still stay together. Um, and the fully formed twin uh, puts his conjoined twin in a basket, and he kills people in the basket. They're going after all the doctors who separated them specifically, which is pretty much what they're doing in Malignant as well. So, but it's also like he gets jealous of the conjoined, the malformed twin. I want to say his name was like Bo or Belial or something. It's some weird
Belial.
B
Yep.
name, Belial. Okay, I was right. Um, like he gets like jealous of the regular twin for having any sort of human relationship whatsoever, and it's the same exact thing in this one. um so it's like, it's basically like he got the main plot points and then just did it his own way. Like, I'm not mad about it. I just was like, son of a bitch, I got tricked into thinking it wasn't Basket Case. Yeah, but I had a good time with it. I thought it was fun.
I've just been looking up the cast to see if I can glean any more fun information, and I can. The voice of Gabriel is Ray Chase, who is Noctis in Final Fantasy 15.
Hell
Wow.
yes. Hell yes. That's amazing.
Brilliant.
That's absolutely amazing.
He's many other things.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a pretty popular voice actor. So
He is in Fallout 76. He is the following people. He is Graham. He is Jacob Lerner, Simon Gladwell, Super Mutants, and additional voices.
Hmm.
I for you, Ivan, because I have no idea who any of those people are.
Yeah, I know who that is. Most of those people are super mutants. So
Oh, fair enough. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad I saw this in the cinema. I'm really glad I got to see this in the cinema because if I had watched this at home, which I know you guys did because it's on HBO Max, it just had a big old cinema release here. I would have been looking at my phone for probably when I got bored in the first half hour, and I would have missed little on-screen cues as to what's going on. Oh, but I enjoyed watching this so much. It's I can't remember where it was. I think it was somewhere around the 30-minute, 40-minute mark when I realized they're playing a lot of industrial rock music, and this feels like a mid-90s movie. And then it clicked. This is a late 80s, early 90s film. That is what
Yes.
this is
Yes.
supposed to be. It is supposed to be nothing else than a movie that the 14-year-olds would share the VHS of in the schoolyard going, you have to see this movie, it's crazy. That's what this is.
Even the opening has such a sci-fi channel feel to it.
Oh yeah, it has an opening credit scene of just generic background music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like come on.
I would say what would have made that better.
With a killer opening line.
Well, see, my only critique about it, like the only thing that would make the movie better, is if they cut out that first part of the movie.
No, but you
Like
need
the
it.
very first.
No.
No, you need it. You need it because it makes it feel like it's a legitimate movie.
No, because I feel like it kind of ruins the surprise of it though. Because you're like, oh wow, okay, there's something going on here. There's a hospital, crazy electric powers and stuff. I think it would be more interesting if they framed it more as a serial killer kind of thing. And it's like, okay, yeah, like you get little flashbacks or something like that. Like, I think that would make it better to me at least. But I get your point.
hmm I just love how silly this film is. It's so goofy. It's just that's the word that keeps coming up to me when I think about it. It's just goofy. Everything that happens is, yeah, it's a horror film where weird things happen. Of course it does. But even just little things when the sister goes to the hospital and goes, "Oh my god, that's a creepy building," and then parks right at the edge of a cliff.
It's like, why? Why would you do this?
You're giving me anxiety.
Yeah, it's such an odd thing to do, but that can't be, because everything that happens on screen is a conscious decision of a director or a creator behind it. They knew every single moment that was happening. That's why you play the music from Fight Club. That's why you park at the end of a thing. That's why you have the forensic person who's in a rom-com while everyone else is in a horror film. Remember that friend?
Oh yeah, she was fun.
And she comes up and she's just openly flirting. And the sassy black friend who's just going, this is not for me.
It's so good. It's
once National Guard.
That's the thing as well, is like, if you go into this expecting a traditional James Wan film, whether it's Saw or Conjuring, whatever, you will be disappointed. But as long as you understand what it is doing, this is a blast.
But that's what I did. I went in expecting that. Maybe it's because I just watch so many horror films that I just enjoy a good reveal. I love a good reveal.
Yeah, to be fair, James,
what it sounds like to me is that you are having the same experience that I did with Guardians of the Galaxy. I was so burnt out on superhero stuff back when that came out, and I was like, I'm just gonna go see this movie to see this movie. I was so pleasantly surprised to see something I wasn't expecting with characters I didn't know who the hell they were.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I
like,
also
thank you.
There's a bunch of stuff that happens in this film that they didn't need to say it out loud, but it does make it better that they just say entire plot points. They condense it down to the minimum amount of words that you need to say it. It happens a lot in the third act when it's mostly the sister where she'll say, I can't remember all the lines from the movie, but the one that really helped me and that it made me go, oh, when I watched it was when she goes, he's the reason that you've been having miscarriages, which I had not thought about, but makes perfect sense when you say it. And I think that was probably a note from some producer after the film that said, oh, what's up with the miscarriages you mentioned?
You gotta make him hate him. You gotta make him hate him.
and that I feel like it really worked. And then the final reveal where they did a fake out fight. Where they did the Twilight not full moon, eclipse. No, not eclipse. The last one, New Dawn. Yeah, where they had a fake fight scene, and then it turned out, oh no, you're not trapped in here with me. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me.
Yep. Is it corny? Yeah. But is it cool? Also, yeah.
And then she just has superpowers now. She's just super strong.
I guess so. That's the that's the thing. Like,
Really,
I guess
that they applied like legit logic. Because you can't have Gabriel do all those crazy things and then, oh, Madison's frail and weak, and she's like, no, I'm just really fucking strong now. Look at me lift this hospital bed.
Yeah.
I just gotta see her like the real question will be like, does she keep her agility? Like be able to like jump up like 50 feet in the air? Like it's like that's the part I was like, all right, are we dealing with something real? Like a scene like where Gabriel's running away from like, the policeman and
The
like they're like
detective,
yeah, they just jumps like crazy high. I was like, this is bullshit.
and then they go fight in a really fog filled room
Yeah.
with Victorian carriages in it.
It's just so weird.
It's so weird, but it's so fun. It's so joyous and fun. I can't. This isn't so bad. It's good. This is legitimately very well made cinema, but it's designed to be ridiculous.
You know what it kind of gives
exactly.
me? You know what the vibe it gives me is like Husk
Oh, it's
by
better than
Kevin
Tusk.
Smith. Well, no, where it's more like, hey, we're gonna take a crazy concept that's either been done before or something is something completely new and make it good and play it totally straight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's kind of like that. We're like, this is such a dumb idea, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing.
Hell yeah. I loved this film.
Yep.
Is it? You know what? I think it genuinely might make my top 10 films of the year.
Oh wow.
Unironically.
I can see that. I think it'll probably be in my top 10 as well. In the lower 5, but in the top 10.
Oh yeah, it's not going to be in the top. It's not going to be in the top 5. It'll make the 10.
Yeah. All right.
How did Gabriel know who the mother was? How did he know?
I mean,
And
I
how
think they
did
get
he?
access to each other person's memories. Remember?
Yeah, but the daughter didn't know. And how
I
did
mean,
they know? How did he know that she worked for doing tours in the Seattle Underground?
well, I mean, I would assume there's like points where he's like doing research and stuff, and like because he's able to like block her into parts of her own mind before she's able to get that power. So I would assume during that time frame, he's like doing research, trying to find things out, and he's just keeping that part away from her.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that makes sense. Also, the whole electricity thing, which is never explained, but I respect them
It's
never
so
explaining it.
dumb.
Yeah. What is that?
Like, does she have
Honestly,
electricity powers now?
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I legitimately believe that was written in and they worked their way backwards because they wanted to have a scene where she's in the room, like with the detectives, and Gabriel speaks through the phone. I legitimately believe they wanted that
Cool
scene.
moment.
And they work. It is a cool moment, and then they work their way backwards from that. That's my opinion.
Well, I would like you could still accomplish that with another way. There, you could just say it's in her mind. Like
It
because
is
like,
in her mind.
but I meant in terms of like the voice and stuff, it's not coming through the phone. It's completely in her mind, and the cops just looking at her like, "Are you fucking weird?"
I mean,
Yeah,
that is what they think.
Yeah, they think she's crazy anyway. So it's like, all right, well, whatever. Like they could have done that anyway. I purely believe that the electricity thing was just to throw us off entirely.
maybe.
Because you think
Maybe.
electricity powers, you can't think conjoined twin from that.
Mm.
She's like, she would figure out if she had electricity powers by accident or not.
Man.
I don't know. There's things like that.
Oh man, I liked this film.
It was good. All right, final thoughts before we wrap things up.
It's the best time I've had watching a film in a cinema this year.
All right.
That's pretty fair.
And I will never. I want to talk to the people that walked out of my screening before the twist happened, because they think the ending of this movie is something completely different.
Yep.
That's fair.
Right. Any final thoughts, Sam?
No, I've said what I wanted to say. It's a good fun time. I really enjoyed it.
All right. So, thank you guys for tuning into the show. It's been a lot of fun. We're gonna go and get things started here. We'll do our outros. James, where can the good people find you, sir?
The good people can find me on Twitter at James_S Wilson, and every Friday night on Radio Harrow at 7 p.m. British Standard Time. I really should look this up what time that is in the US. But yes, and you can just listen to the past month of shows. As I said, I've got incredibly busy week coming up. I'm watching Dune today, actually now, and the London Film Festival. By this time next week, I would have seen Edgar Wright's new movie Last Night in Soho. I am beyond excited for that. So yeah, watch this space.
All right, and Sam.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's TOLBERT. Find everything I'm writing over on Windows Central and its sister sites. Nothing too big over the next couple of days, but you never know what happens, so keep your eyes peeled.
Yep. And Ivan, you can find me at Anchorman V2 on Xbox, PlayStation, wherever. You can find me on Twitter at Anchor V2, and you can find me on Cheat Code Radio with Nicholas Downey on Friday mornings. So, all right, we're gonna wrap things up here. Thank you guys for tuning into the Multiverse Show.